From Ohio's haylofts and tool sheds, driveways and blacktops where future legends practice buzzer beaters under dimly lit mercury lights, it's the show that covers all things high school basketball. Here is Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat, driven by Terry Hendricks Auto Group. And now, two twin brothers whose parents were called for multiple conferences with the algebra teacher because they always solved for X with an O. OHSAA Hall of Fame coaches and your hosts, Doug and Dave Krause.
How was your algebra?
Oh, my algebra was great, and my math teachers were all excellent. X's and O's, yeah, I think I understood most of them. Of course, we had Mrs. Schwab back in junior high. We didn't have algebra with her, but oh boy, we had to rub out.
And the only math that I got to give her full credit for my math skills. You know, whatever math I know and still have that in me is due to Anna Schwab. What a teacher.
Yes, she was. And we had Jack Gildy as our algebra teacher, geometry, whatever. He was a good old boy.
And that was when I left math. I had reached my limit.
Yeah, your X's and O's were a little bit different.
Yeah, I liked the X's and O's that I ended up getting into.
There you go.
Well, what do you guys have for our program today?
Well, today's show, we're looking forward to a young man from Antwerp, Zaine McMichael, as part of our senior spotlight, along with a couple young ladies from Wauseon, Aizlynn Coronado and Sophia Rupp, who's both had great careers for the Lady Indians. And then we have a VIP segment today on tap with a guy who covers all the bases of what this show's about, and that's Doug Kid Williams from right here in Archbold. And he has a lot of good stuff to share with our listeners.
Well, all right, let's go ahead and start with our senior spotlight today.
Welcome, Zaine McMichael from Antwerp Archers to our senior spotlight. Zaine, appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Well, you betcha. Hey, you're a 4-year letter winner over there for the Archers, and if you look back at your freshman and sophomore seasons, you were part of a couple of 20-plus win seasons. And what do you remember most about those two seasons, your freshman and sophomore years?
Yeah, it was great to be a part of those teams. There's lots of memories with winning a lot of games, and I just remember being around the older guys, and just it was fun to be a part of, and that's probably one of my best memories here at Antwerp have been those seasons.
Mm-hmm. Well, I understand that. Well, those were great seasons.
You mentioned the older guys. Who are we talking specifically, and maybe what you learned from them?
Yeah. So when I was a freshman, point guard was Parker Moore, so him. Then my sophomore year, Landon Brewer, Carson Altimus, Reed, Cam Fuller, just those guys were, I can't thank them enough because I was like a younger freshman, sophomore, and they just welcomed me in, and it was like we just clicked, and it worked out really good.
That's good when the upperclassmen welcome those younger guys in. That's good for a program. They've been well taught.
Yep.
Well, okay, now you've advanced to a senior as you are. As you look at this, season and compare, how do you attempt to lead your younger group through a tough season like you're kind of having this year? How does that work?
Yeah. Yep. So obviously, it's been a little bit different from freshman and sophomore year, where, like you said, some 20-win seasons, but these junior and senior years, although we didn't win a bunch of games, I've just kind of been trying to tell everybody that you can still learn valuable stuff from these seasons, and just for the younger guys, like I feel like that they're still like use this season, like not that it's over, but use it like to build on and just for the upcoming seasons, like get something out of this one. So I've just been trying to inspire everyone, and now that's tournament time, just really just trying to tell everyone that like anything can happen in the tournament. So
that's definitely true. I mean, there's been all kinds of situations because everybody walks in saying 0-0. So I don't care what your record is in the first 22. It doesn't matter. It's out the window now. So let's take a look back. When did basketball, Zaine, become kind of an interest to you? Do you remember that point?
Yeah. So being a little boy, I always remember my dad, Coach McMichael. He was our boys coach. Now he's our girls coach. And just ever since I was like able to walk, I just remember being in the gym. And from there, I became a water boy. And it's just like I'd like to say that my love of the game comes from my dad. So that's where it comes from.
Well, let's kind of build on that. Obviously, you've mentioned Coach McMichael, really successful coach. So that's that father figure in your life has been really helpful, I gotta believe. But what particularly did he give you? What insights or advice that he's given you about the game that you still hold true today?
Yeah, growing up, he always coached me like throughout elementary, and sometimes it can be difficult, playing for your dad, but it taught me a lot. And I feel like just one of the biggest things that taught me is like kind of like giving me my IQ for the game. And I feel like that I understand the game really well because of him. And I just can't thank him enough because of that.
Well, that's the coach's son mentality. They have that advantage, and it truly is an advantage. So,
yeah.
Yep.
How about Zaine, as you go practice every day and so forth? What keeps you motivated every day as a player? What gets you excited about hitting the gym?
Yeah. I feel like just the fact of every day, just like trying to get better, I think about like when I go to the gym, like what's other schools doing, and then I just like try to think in my mind, like, am I doing more than other schools to get better? And then like on another note, I just feel like that looking at Antwerp, like basketball, like we've had some success and these past 2 years we've been a little bit down, but I just feel like going to the gym I'm working for, like trying to get this program back up to the standards we have here.
Well, that's good. And how has your game evolved from being a role player back in your freshman, sophomore years to being the team's primary scorer the last couple of years?
Yeah. So as a freshman, um, I was around a lot of great players. Landon Brewer was our best player, and my role like was to come in and handle the ball and knock down shots. And now, as I've gotten older, there's some sets ran towards me, and I feel like my game has evolved where I can like kind of score on all three phases, where I can get downhill or hit a mid range or hit the three. So I feel like that's where my game has evolved the most.
Well, to get 22 a game, and you had 19 a game last year, 22 this year, you made 1,000 points. Congratulations on that 1,000 points, by the way. That's quite an achievement.
Thank
but
you.
To do all that, you need teammates to help. How about some other teammates that have helped you throughout the seasons this year
For
and
sure.
past? Yeah.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, like you mentioned, 1,000 points. I could have never got there without my teammates, so I can't thank them enough. Um, I'd like to say one of the other seniors, Hampton Rogie. He's all 4 years. He's been a part of the program, so I'd really like to thank him. Then Weston Roanhouse. He's our second leading scorer right now. He's a junior. He's taken some great steps, and then Lincoln Lucas and Braden Fuller. They've done a great job this season as well.
What advice, Zaine, would I watch Antwerp games and I see a packed house. That's always a good environment over there, an atmosphere. But a lot of young kids. I'm talking about the third, fourth, fifth, sixth graders, which back in the day you were one of them. But what advice would you give them, in terms of maybe wanting to be part of the Archer program?
Yeah, yeah, like you mentioned, it's been an honor to play at the range. Like, even though we're having a little rough season here, it's always like the Antwerp community always shows up. So this community really cares about the basketball program. So that's pretty cool. I'd just say that to the younger kids, like you got to love it, and like to put in the work. Like you got to outwork all the other schools around here. So whatever you think you're doing, you got to do more. So that's my biggest advice.
Well, we're good friends with your coach, Coach Bills, and we've go back a few years with him. If I ask Coach Billman about some things about Zaine McMichael, what do you think he might say about you?
Yeah. Yep. I feel like he'd say that I'm a pretty good leader, whether that be how I lead by example or vocal, and that I'm a pretty good worker. Like I feel like he can count on me every day that I'm going to make sure we're having a pretty good practice. And I just feel like that's probably one of the biggest things is I try to do is make sure there's no bad practices and we get something out of every single practice.
Well, you're right on. I did ask Coach Bills about that, and he says Zaine's truly a basketball junkie. He watches a lot of ball, goes to games, watches film. He's a smart coach's kid that's going to make a good coach. And he says his work ethic and his daily approach is so refreshing and great for younger kids to see. So you're right on. And that's I think any coach would like that, huh, Dave?
Absolutely. That's a coach's dream to have that guy in your program. Hey, I see behind you, a little golf thing. You play golf as well, correct?
Yep, I do.
How's your golf game?
It's pretty good. Yep. Yeah, so my dad was actually our golf coach, so that was a lot of fun.
Okay, so do you compete with him in golf, or does he beat you? Or are you whooping him?
We're pretty evenly matched. Yeah, we're right around a 40, 41, so not bad.
Okay, well let's jump back to you then. Let's talk about your other things besides off the court stuff. We've heard that you're involved in a couple organizations, primarily the 4-H programs and also the FCA locally. So talk about your involvement in both of those organizations.
Smith, your ride is here.
Yep. Yeah. So besides just basketball, I'm involved in quite a bit other stuff. I'm here at Antwerp. I'm our class president.
Okay.
Class president, then also part of the National Honor Society, and Fellowship of Christian Athletes, which Coach Bowman runs. And outside of school, like you said, I'm involved in 4-H, which at the Paulding County Fair I show pigs, which I really enjoy doing that.
Okay. And at the end of showing your pig, you have to sell the pig, correct? Is that happening?
Yep, that's correct.
Do you make some money on that then?
Yeah, yep, some pretty good money.
That's good. That's really good. What we heard about a special thing you did for the FCA program, and that you raised some
grant money and so forth for some birthday boxes.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing.
Tell us about
explain
that.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So here at Antwerp, it's called being an FTA, where you can help out in a classroom. And my mom is is a kindergarten teacher here, so I help out in her classroom. And I just noticed that talking with some kids in the elementary wing, that when I'd ask them on their birthdays if they're doing anything, they said no, we don't have the money to have a birthday, to have a cake or anything. So that just kind of got to me, and I wanted to do something about it. So I wrote a grant and got money. So we did it last year, then we did it this year, where we created 25 boxes. In the boxes are everything you need for a cake, balloons, cards, just to try to make their day special.
Oh, that is special, and I congratulate on that. What a great idea. Zaine, you're going to be graduating here this spring. What's future plans hold for Zaine McMichael?
Yeah. So I mentioned both my parents actually teach here at Antwerp. So right now I'm not 100% sure, but I'm kind of leaning towards becoming a teacher and going following my dad and being a PE teacher. So
there you go.
And so that's where the Coach Bills talked about you being a coach down the road. That's probably part of that as well, correct?
Yep, that is correct. I'd like to coach high school basketball as well.
Well, you've been fortunate enough to play for a really, really good one, and then also live with another good one. So you've got some great mentors right in your neck of the woods there. So, you got this big game tomorrow night against Miller City. So, hey, we got to wish you a lot of luck on that. And, it's like you said, everybody's 0-0. So let's go see what happens.
Yep. Well, thank you. Yep. It should be a good game. They're a good team. So
yeah, they are. So, hey, best of luck to you, my friend, and go get them, and all the best in the future for you.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate this.
I want to welcome from Wauseon High School, Aizlynn, Coronado, and Sophia Rupp to our Senior Spotlight. Hey, ladies, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Well, you betcha.
Pleasure.
You bet it is. And, you guys had a tough contest last night. You lost in the district finals to a quality Liberty Benton squad. You battled them hard. You just couldn't quite get over the hump. Was that pretty accurate? Sophia, what do you think?
Yep.
Either one of you. I'm sorry. Yeah. What do you think, Sophia? That's a tough game.
Yeah, it was a tough game. They're a really good team, and we played really hard, but after their second quarter run, we just couldn't get back.
Yeah, before halftime, they got you. And Aizlynn, anything you want to add to that?
I agree with her, but I think that they're just overall like a really good team, and I think that we would start going and getting spurts, but then just like right as soon as we started getting like momentum, I feel like they would hit like a key play that would almost just hit us again. And
Yep.
so it was there, and I definitely think it's a beatable team, but we just weren't able to connect all 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You guys finished at 13-11, and you play a really competitive schedule in non-league and so forth. Ups and downs this year you both had, obviously, throughout your season. Aizlynn, we'll start with you. Your Indians, with these up and downs, what was some memories that you will remember about this season?
I think how close that we like definitely got through the up and downs. I think that there's moments that like I feel like we face a lot of adversity, especially also our starting five this year I feel like was a more of a like newer starting five, didn't have a lot of varsity experience, and to watch the girls develop into the players that they like did so far over the season like was really enjoyable. And I feel like you could see the confidence because last year obviously we had Mackenzie and Johanna, like all experienced varsity players playing with Sophia and I, and that takes a lot to come onto varsity, especially from a player that's been playing JV the whole time and then just get thrown into starting varsity. So I think that it was a lot of learning and we learned together and then just learning each other because obviously like I've been playing with upperclassmen since my freshman year and same as Soph. So then playing with these new girls that we didn't really have a chance to learn how to play with on JV or whatever in the previous year. So I think that like learning how one another take certain things, how you have to say things to certain people, and just knowing what person is going to make that cut and like we'll be able to read each other well and stuff. So I think that that took a lot of time this season, but seeing it develop and when we would get it right, it was really like enjoyable and rewarding.
For sure. Sophia, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think it was definitely the moments in between. Like we would have a big game and then team bonding after, like coming together. Because last year, I mean, we had last year's seniors, so this year us seniors really had to pick up the leadership role, and I think it was really fun to see how everyone like developed into their roles.
Well, you know, you both have received all league honors in your career and so forth, which is really impressive. But who are some of the teammates that helped you contribute or contributed to your success, for your team and you individually? Sophia, start with you first. Other teammates.
I think it comes from everyone. It comes from the people that start and play all 34 minutes, and it comes from the coaches, the freshmen. Definitely Marin Leatherman, Ella Toole, Abby Kissel. I'd say those three definitely too.
Okay, and Aizlynn, anybody else you want to add?
I would definitely say like Marin Leatherman. I think that in games that were hard and difficult, like I always could count on her to go 110%. If I'm trying to push up the ball, I know I could look up and see Marin sprinting down the court. I think in practice too, just pushing each other one-on-one, and especially the coaches, like I just think that it came from everyone. And then to like every single girl on that bench, when I make a mistake and I look over and all of them are like, it's fine, get it back. I like do something good on defense, like everyone going crazy. So I definitely think it's everyone just pushing one another.
Well, then also you've been a part of a winning program your whole career. I mean, obviously this year 13-11, 21-5 last year was an awesome season. Another 13-11 is your sophomore year. Of course, the interesting thing about that, Liberty Benton got you out of the tournament both this year and 2 years ago. But what a great program you've been a part of. What makes Wauseon what it is? What do you think, Aizlynn? Start with you.
I think like the community. I think everyone at Wauseon really wants to make the program better as a whole, not individually. And I think that just like Wauseon basketball, like you can hear it and and I feel like that there's been ups and downs in our program, but I think that especially there's always just been a legacy that we want to carry on. And I think every person that contributes to the program wants the best for the program and feels so strongly about the program. And I feel like when you hear Wauseon basketball, you're going to know that's going to be a team that's going to go out hard. They're going to be physical and they're going to want it till the last minute.
Great. Sophia, what else you want to add to that?
I would also say the students, the school, the teachers. We always have a student section in every game, and we're always supported, no matter where we go. If it's 45 minutes away, if it's a home game.
Nice. Let's start with you, Sophia. Who might have had the biggest impact on you as a young player, and why?
Um, I would say my parents. They've always done everything for me. My dad taught me how to shoot a basketball, and they've taken me to so many practices, games, tournaments, and they're always there to pick me up after a bad game or even after a good game. So,
Well, I
yeah,
tell you
I
what,
would definitely say
he did a good
parents.
job because you got a sweet shot, lady. I'll tell you, you got a nice looking shot.
Thank you.
Yeah, good coach. What about you, Aizlynn?
I would also definitely say my parents, coming from a family that wasn't really into basketball. I was the first one that decided I want to try basketball, and my sister being the girly girl, all dancing and everything, and then me being like, "Mom, I want to try basketball." And from there, they went full on with me, finding AAU, learning about everything with me. They didn't even know about all the competitive basketball there could be, and then taking me everywhere, and just always being along the journey with me. And then after my bad games, being there telling me what I did, like again being supportive, but then
Mhm.
also I think like learning the game of basketball with me too, because before they didn't really know much about basketball, and now my mom tries to give me advice even when I don't want it at all. But
That's what moms are for.
I think just
Exactly.
I think definitely the support from them.
That's
And then
good.
I would also say my freshman year coming in from like little eighth grade basketball, and um I think just like the confidence that Coach Seiler and Bryce Carroll were able to like gave to me, and the confidence they had into me was really like it made me feel a certain way.
Okay. Sophia, you ran through some adversity this year with an injury. So as you went through that and getting through that, what did that whole process and situation teach you?
It was really hard at first, sitting at practices on the bench at games, but I just tried to contribute the way I could. When
Mhm.
people get subbed out, telling them what I'm hearing on the bench, what I'm seeing from the bench, and just going through physical therapy, trying to get back for my team.
Okay. So you became a little coach on the bench then.
Yeah.
Is that,
Yep.
did it spur you on to maybe down the road that might be something you want to investigate?
Yeah, I have thought about coaching. I think it would be fun, and
Okay.
if I could, I would definitely want to come back and coach at Wauseon.
Okay.
There you go.
Aizlynn, so if what do you hope the younger players, it could be in the program or even in the junior highs, et cetera, what do you hope they remember about you as a player?
I hope they remember like my effort and how aggressive I am. I feel like as being a smaller guard, um, I want people to remember like when they think of Aizlynn, like, oh yeah, her defense was crazy. Like she would go get after. I want them to like my goal every game is to make the guard be scared to bring up the ball against me. So I feel like that's one thing I feel strongly about is I want them to like no one be able to fault my effort. And I feel like effort and hustle goes such a far like way in a basketball game.
Well,
So
for sure. And I've heard many people talk about the effort you gave. So it's people are seeing it.
Yeah, they notice that for
yeah,
sure. And
for-
coaches do too, for sure.
Yeah. Hey, both of you, obviously senior year, last time for a lot of things, but the best thing is you're making great memories. So, particularly about basketball, maybe what is it, Sophia, that you're going to miss the most about basketball?
Um, just the friendships that I made. Obviously, I'm going kind of far for college, so I'm gonna miss my teammates, last year's teammates, and just the environment, playing in front of all my friends,
Yeah.
family.
Okay. Aizlynn, anything different?
I would agree. The friendships, just like after like the bonding moments, like in the locker room, making jokes with coaches and stuff like that. Like when all of us girls team up and make a little joke against the coaches and they just look at us like, what is going on? I think those little moments that like the laughter is just insane, and it's definitely gonna be missed.
Well, I understand that. The locker room stuff is always fun as part of a camaraderie within a group, and that's always important too. How about, let's start with you, Aizlynn. How about a favorite class at Wauseon, or maybe a teacher that's lit a fire into you?
I would actually go all the way back to my eighth grade year and say Mrs. Beaverson. She was a person that like really helped me like um continue pushing, because I know that eighth grade basketball season was like not like I was just kind of like, not like loving the sport anymore or anything. And I feel like she definitely was just always, she's always along the ride, was always like, you got this, you're amazing. And she really likes basketball. So I feel like from there, going into my freshman year, I would get little texts from her cheering me on. And
Nice.
I think that, and then her class was just amazing. And her as a person, that's what definitely made the class.
Great. Sophia?
I would say Algebra 2 with Miss Carroll. I always look forward to that class every day. And I've never been too good at math, but she always made it easy for me. And if I had questions, she'd always be there to help. And I still go to her class every day and talk to her, and she's easy to talk to, and she's always there to listen.
You know, if we went back, let's go back and turn the clock back to your freshman year. And if you could right now talk to yourself as a freshman, give that person advice of what you've gone through, Aizlynn, what would you share with yourself 4 years ago?
I would definitely say just be a little bit more confident and not be as hard on myself, because I think that that's one thing that I really had to develop as a player is not holding on to the little mistakes I made. And I'd always be so embarrassed. I'd be like, oh my gosh, everyone just watched me airball. They just watched me turn over that ball. But in reality, when I'm done with the game and I have that one little thing in my head that like, oh, I made that terrible pass, and I go and say it, other people are like, what are you talking about? Don't remember that. So I feel like that's one thing that as I've gotten older, I've realized if you do so many other good things, they aren't going to remember that one small little mistake. So I think definitely telling my freshman self that would do wonders for Aizlynn.
Good advice. Sophia, how about you?
I would say also to be a little easier on myself. I've always been hard on myself in everything that I do, but especially basketball. I would tell myself that don't take it all for granted. Like, basketball in high school is really fun. If you make it fun, don't take any practices. Like, take everything as hard as you can and work hard every day and enjoy the people you're around.
Very good.
Well, you know, your ladies are going to be graduating from Wauseon this spring, and I know, Sophia, you already announced your plans. First of all, how does a young lady from Wauseon, Ohio, get all the way to Minnesota, a Division II school in Minnesota? And why don't you tell us about that? You can even pronounce it for us.
Well, I'm going to Bemidji State University in Minnesota. My AAU teammate knew my AAU coach knew one of the assistant coaches and told him about me, and I had a phone call, and they invited me to go on a visit, and I just loved it right away. And the program is exactly what I'm looking for, and I'm really excited.
Well, you obviously visited during the summer, but not during the winter when they had 14 inches of snow.
Yes. It was during the fall, and it was still really cold in the fall.
Yeah, and so you're going from an Indian to what?
A beaver.
All right,
Oh,
there we
you
go.
The Bemidji Beavers.
There we
All
go.
right.
Aizlynn, what about your future?
I decided that I didn't want to continue my career with sports. I had some opportunities, but I decided that I really wanted to just focus academically because I am pretty gifted in that part. So I want to focus. I plan on going to just the University of Toledo with a lot of the government merit scholarships I've gotten for being in the top of my class. And so going in state, I can go to school pretty cheap. And I want to get my undergraduate in criminal justice to continue on to be a criminal defense attorney. Whoa. So that's what my plans are.
Well, that's awesome. And
very good.
You two ladies have been impressive. You've been great ambassadors for Wauseon High School your entire career. And we give you major props for that. And it's been fun watching both of you compete throughout the seasons too. And we want to thank you for your time here today and wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
You betcha. Have a great day.
Time now to thank our sponsors for Season 2 of Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat. Our title sponsor this season, the Terry Hendricks Auto Group. Terry Hendricks sells and services new and used vehicles with a reputation for professional service. Visit or contact both Terry Hendricks Ford and Terry Hendricks Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram in Archbold. D&G Welding of Archbold. Call 419-445-5751 and ask about their mobile service. Rely on D&G Welding for all your welding needs. American Freedom Energy, located just off US 24 on Highway 109 by Liberty Center. If you're traveling in the area, stop in for a fuel fill-up of high-quality Marathon gasoline. And while you're there, pop into Grandma's General Store. You'll find locally produced grocery items from the local Henry, Fulton, Defiance, and Williams County producers. Ward's Power Sports and Carts in South Archbold, your hometown experts for top-quality golf carts and UTVs. Stop by or go to www.wardscarts.com and see why they're the area's trusted choice. S&W Mills of Archbold, proud supporters of the Archbold Blue Streaks and all our area students and athletes. Call S&W Mills of Archbold for all of your animal bedding needs at 419-445-5206. Viking Trucking in Ridgeville Corners. They provide reliable transportation for your construction materials like stone, dirt, asphalt, rough material. They handle all types of heavy materials for your construction needs. Call 419-267-3319. Viking Trucking, where quality doesn't cost, it performs. Thiel Construction in Blakesley. They excel in custom residential and commercial construction services. They offer custom home building, remodeling, commercial build-outs, and project management. Trust Thiel Construction for your next construction project. Also, while you're in Blakesley, visit the Thiel Supply Center. From power tools to plumbing supplies, they offer everything needed to tackle any job. The Sherwood State Bank, with branches in Sherwood, Defiance, Archbold, and Fayette, offering banking and financial services for consumers, business, agriculture, and investments. Call the main branch at 419-899-2111 or visit one of the local 4 branches nearest you. And Innovatech Solutions of Archbold, your trusted technology partner. Call 419-445-8088 to learn more about their many services or visit them online at innovatechsolutions.net. That's Innovatech with a K, solutions.net. Thanks to all our sponsors for Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat Season 2, and we do sincerely hope that you, our listeners, will patronize these fine businesses. And if you enjoy Hoop Chat, thank our sponsors for supporting the program.
Hey, we want to welcome Doug Kidd-Williams to our VIP segment this afternoon. Doug, thanks for taking the time.
Well, I appreciate I was kind of surprised when I got the call. Who would want to listen to me, but I guess I'm here.
So what did you tell me when I asked you?
I said, you guys on drugs or something?
Well, we've been accused of that before, but I don't think we were. But let's not take that test right now. Hey, what I'm interested, though, is I'll tell you why we reached out to you. Simply, you touch all the bases. I mean, what we talk about, meaning that, you've been in the coaching side of things at the high school level. You were an assistant coach. You were a head coach. Then you decided, I got an opportunity to do the collegiate route as a coach, and so you did that. And then finally, you're just a parent. You've had parenting of 4 athletes, and we talk a lot about parenting on here as well. So that's why you checked all the boxes off.
That's why you're a VIP, kid.
Okay,
absolutely.
All right.
So let's talk about you, though. Let's go back to maybe as you remember. What was maybe what point in your life did you first get interested in athletics or sports or basketball or?
Oh, when I was really young, I enjoyed basketball and baseball and football. When I was young, football was my favorite sports, but when I was a freshman in high school, I was 5'1", 96, and my dad said, nah, we're not going to play football. So I just stuck with 2 sports then.
So we're talking in the Fulton County town of Delta. You
Right.
were a Deltaite.
Yeah, graduated in 1969.
Okie doke.
A long time ago.
And your coach then in basketball was?
Jim McBride.
Jim McBride. What do you remember
great
about?
man.
Yeah, talk
Great
about
man.
Jim McBride and his influence.
When I was growing up, it was really frustrating because we were so uncompetitive in basketball. And then I remember he got hired my freshman year, and he kind of turned things around. And I thought he was a really good coach, and I got to be really good friends with him and his sons later on, because I spent a lot of time, even when I was in college, going to open gyms and stuff with him and Billy Hugg, who was an assistant at the time.
That's right.
And so we spent a lot of time in the gym, even after I graduated.
So maybe at what point, and maybe you just touched on it a little bit, but when did that coaching bug hit you?
Well, I really did. At first, I was going to be an accounting major, and then what happened is I started playing slow pitch softball. So Steve Reddig talked me into, and I really loved playing. He said, hey, June, July, and August, you got to go back to be a teacher. So I did. I went back to be a teacher, and I got hired at Continental as a business teacher and as a baseball coach, but not a basketball coach. Okay. But I always enjoyed basketball coaching more than baseball because, in my opinion, in basketball, unlike baseball, you could overcome some talent deficiencies if you just played so hard. Mm-hmm. You play a lot harder than the other person. You're more competitive. Where in baseball, if you can't throw it or hit it, doesn't matter how hard you try, it ain't getting done.
Well, let's move on from that, Lynn. Let's talk about specifically hone in on your coaching journey. So give us that then.
Well, I was I always, like I said, I love basketball. Then when I first got to Continental, I was a baseball coach, and I used to hang around in practice to watch them. And then one year, Coach Don Huber, who coached forever, great man, great coach, him and Denny Potts, who I think is one of the best JV coaches in the history of the game. They asked me to help out, and I did, and that's where it started. I think it was like 1980.
Okay. Yeah, those two names bring back some good memories.
They coached together for years, and then when I got to be the head coach, Denny Potts stayed on as my assistant coach. Okay. He never had a desire to be a head coach. He was a great basketball mind.
Mm-hmm. So you've mentioned Coach McBride and Donnie Huber. Anybody else that might along the way been influential to you as you were, come up with your philosophy and your coaching style, et cetera?
Well, if you remember, back in the day, the ones, most of us young coaches, we were kind of enamored with Bob Knight, and I used to listen to his show, and I'd go to his clinic. So I got a lot of my philosophy from him. Mm-hmm. So he was pretty influential, even though I didn't obviously deal with him directly, but he was always kind of influential.
Well, that's like you said, many coaches back in those days, Bob Knight was a guy you looked up to and tried to follow. Kid, as you look at your career, what's looking back on, what's one of the most important qualities you would see a good assistant coach should have?
Well, I think, first of all, and I tell my son, who's an assistant coach now, number one is loyalty. You have to be loyal because, unfortunately, I've been around long enough. I've seen where head coaches have had to deal with assistant coaches that were loyal and I just think you have to be loyal. Sure. And the other thing, I don't think you can be a yes man, because if you're going to be, you have to be able to tell the head coach and let him know, hey, this is my opinion. The bottom line is, if you go ahead and follow my opinion, it doesn't work out, don't come back to me and blame me, because you have the final say.
Don't point fingers.
Yeah, you have the final say. I'm just giving suggestions.
There you go. And
I always thought the same thing. When I was an assistant coach, I would give opinions, and he'd take it. Yeah. And I'd go home and say I tell Jenny, he did what I told him to do. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. And then when I became the head coach, it was just a matter. I quickly learned that whatever you were suggesting to me, I was thinking in my own head, and it just gave me a reassurance. Yeah. So I knew then that he really wasn't taking my advice. He was just I was agreeing with him.
Well, I think, and I've talked to this a lot of people I've worked under. I think one of the qualities of a head coach is, and I was very lucky, you have to be open-minded and listen to your assistants. That's why you don't want yes men, in my opinion. I agree. Because a lot of times they bring up, I remember when I was working for Brooks Miller, my job was always kind of be the devil's advocate. So he'd have an idea, and he'd always tell me, you make the counter argument, even though I agreed with him. Mm-hmm. That way he could see all sides of and then he would make the final decision. Yeah. So my job was to be a devil's advocate.
Well, and you play that role quite well. Yeah, that's pretty natural for you.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I let him know what I thought. And then, like I said, if it don't work out, don't be pointing at me.
So, kid, you've been obviously been known in your coaching career as a defensive coach, and you mentioned Coach Knight a little bit ago about your philosophies and so forth. But those defense philosophies did they change at all throughout your career, and maybe why did they change in your man-to-man?
Yeah, it changed a lot from the time I first went to Trine. I was kind of the defensive guy there, and I'd watch all the tape and I plan the defensive practices. But from the time I went there, started till it ended, it changed so much. We had to change because of the advent of the three-point shot, how that completely changed the game. Mm-hmm. And it changed a lot of the things that we did defensively at the college level. So that was the one thing that changed a lot.
So when you were at the high school level helping out the different places, and you helped here as well, and you did the defense, what was different coaching defense at the high school level as opposed to what you did at the college level?
Well, it wasn't really that much different. You try to teach it best you can. You try to drill it, and hopefully you get kids to buy in on it. And I don't care where you're at. If you're going to be a good defensive coach, the hardest thing to do is get everybody to buy into it. And I used to talk with Coach Miller about usually the most talented team you had or the most talented player, it was a harder sell because the average players knew if they didn't guard anybody, they weren't playing. Where subconsciously, if you're a star, he's going to play me anyways. And that's at any level, I think.
And I think at the high school level, when you had limited offensive options,
right,
you need that guy on the floor.
Right, absolutely.
And so the first half rule was don't get in foul trouble.
Right.
And then the second half, we'll play you on a good player.
Right.
We can make that switch and that adjustment. So
yeah, and I had a lot of weaknesses as a coach. One of them was I would get a little stubborn on the defensive end, and if he was a really good player and I didn't think he was giving me the effort, I would set him. And you look back on it now, was I robbing Paul to pay Peter, and as a head coach, you were maybe trying to teach him a lesson, but at the expense of the other kids that are trying to win the game. So I changed with that as I got older.
You
got
also,
more understanding.
Yeah, you also take a look at that kid and you say, if you got that good player and he now is your hardest worker on that squad at both ends of the floor. Now you got something going.
Yeah, and I look back at my career, and of all the teams I had, the ones that I thought maybe overachieved all had that in common. Your best player was your hardest worker. They bought in the most, and they could a lot of times control the locker room where you wouldn't have to. Where they were hearing it from him, your best player, rather than you, and that related to the kids better. And then some years you had teams that you just couldn't find that person.
Did the word zone ever fit into your category in terms of playing a zone?
Yeah, we did that a little bit at Trine. And a lot of times what we did, we would start out in the zone, and then after a couple passes, we would just kind of like a match up and then play a combination. And we had a little bit of success with that, but in high school, no, I was too stubborn, to be honest with you.
Going back to the college set, with the clock shot, that made a difference. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Because you only got to play for maybe 25 seconds.
Right.
So you can mix and match like you talked about. That's a really good thing.
And I look back, and I was stubborn, but I always looked at it like, well, and I'm not saying I'm right, from an individual standpoint and the kid's standpoint, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is all we're going to do. So we absolutely have to do it. So I thought maybe that was more motivation than having a fallback.
Yeah.
And then I can remember an experience in high school. I remember when I was playing for Jim McBride, we were running gun, shooting 90 points, or scoring 90, giving up 80 and everything. And all of a sudden he said, hey, this stuff's got to stop. We got to start guarding people. And I remember, because we'd play a 2-3 zone and run out of it, So we started playing man-to-man, and that was hard work. And I remember Greg Merrill's on the team. We all get together. He says, boy, this is too hard. So we just started dogging. So we knew he would go back, fall back. So we sabotaged our own coach because we were too lazy to play man, so we could fall back into our 2-3 zone. And so that always stuck with me. I didn't want my players to have a fallback position because I was that bad of a defensive player when I was in high school. I loved to play the top of the zone and cheat on passes and try to run out.
Well, let's transition a little bit now. Let's put the parent hat on. We want to kind of get into that a little bit. You had 4 children. Before we start that, you got to remember now, parenting is a twosome. So there's another part of the Williams household, and that's your wife Vicki, right?
Yeah.
And you did what I would call the trifecta, simply because when you married Vicki, you gave your kids a little height of opportunity. Yeah. You probably gave them more smarts.
Yeah, more athleticism.
And we know for sure a better looking kids.
Yeah.
So there's a trifecta right there that those Williams kids achieved by your smart marriage. But let's get right back to it. At what point did you see? Yeah, they all played high school athletics. At what point did they show interest in playing something?
Well, they were all different when they were young. My oldest daughter liked to play, but she wasn't real dedicated in it. And I'll never forget, and she was right. She told, when the other kids were working hard, she says, Dad, I don't know why they do that, because 3 months after you graduate, nobody cares. And I look back, that's probably right.
That's pretty accurate.
The other 3 really liked it. And to be honest, Bryce and Cass were the ones that worked the hardest. Jaron was just late mature when it came to that. And he did, and I never forced him.
Yeah.
I always made sure that that I didn't force him. And then finally Jaron would tag along, and then he got interested. And as it turned out, he ended up being my most dedicated, hardest worker, believe it or not, pretty much high school, then especially after high school.
So, you mentioned Tori, and then the other three were the ones that collegiately played post-high school.
Right.
Once they showed that interest, what was the next step that you took them to?
Well, we never talked about the next level. I was a big one on, hey, we're just trying to get to be as good as you can be, take it day by day. And then the other thing, my kids always knew how lucky they were to be able to play at Archbold, for the coaches and the schools and everything. And plus, they all had great teammates. So it made it much easier for them to be dedicated and to work, because they enjoyed working with their friends. They had tremendous respect, obviously, for the coaches. Your brother here, and Dick Selgo, and Mike Kennedy, and all the coaches they had. And they had great coaches in elementary, and Eddie Miller, and Todd Grosjean, and Ben Gerke, and they all those coaches are the ones that instilled. They made it fun for them. And still worked them hard, and that's why they stayed interested. They had much more to do with any success they had than I did, and that's for sure.
Well, kid, I know you maybe didn't actually coach your kids in a competitive sport. You let other guys like myself and the guys you just mentioned coach them. But yet you were heavily involved in their skill developing, because you spent many hours outside school time working with each of them and their skills. None of your kids played the AAU circuit, or they did the travel ball stuff.
No.
What's your go? Let's talk about that a little bit. That obviously worked really well for your kids.
Well, it was always my impression, especially in basketball, that it was more about skill development, individual development, because I figured with the coach and you guys had a couple times a week, you would play 5-on-5. You practice 5-on-5 all winter, and I always thought they would get enough 5-on-5 training with a lot smarter coaches than their dad. But what I could help them with was their individual development, just put in the time. And what I didn't want them to do, because I saw it happen, is I didn't want to take away their childhood, where they're spending every weekend on the road, traveling all over, and I wanted to give them time on video games and just being a kid. Now, that was my philosophy. I'm not saying it's right, but that's the way I always looked at it. And I was lucky enough, because of all the people like you and all the coaches I mentioned, made it so much fun for them.
Well, that's important. And again, you just hear, all the kids now, and I got my own grandkids who go do the travel stuff, and I just kind of, say whatever, but I look at what you did with your kids, and hey, they played locally and they developed skills. And what else do you need to do other than that?
And then I wanted to make sure I had to go out of my way, because as a longtime coach, I would see through past experience, I tried to take completely all the pressure off them. Just do the best you can do. After a game, we never talked about how well you played or anything. I leave that up to the coaches, and they have enough pressure the way it is. They didn't need it from mom or dad, and my wife was very good at that.
Yeah, I bet. And Dave and I, we've always said that our dad was a model parent in that regard as well. He obviously knew the game, he coached and so forth. But after games, like you just said, he never brought anything up. Yep. He let his coaches do the coaching, and I think that made for a good relationship, and I think that's real positive. I think that's awfully hard for oftentimes parents today to stay out of it. But you know what? They got to trust the people that are in the positions.
And see, I was lucky there, because I did. Yeah. Now, if I would have been in another environment where I didn't think they were getting that kind of guidance, maybe I wouldn't have been as understanding, or maybe I would have got involved too much. But like I said, we were so lucky to be able to have our kids raised in Archbold, the school system, and the athletic program.
Well, enough PR for the Archbold Chamber of Commerce, etc. What about, going back to your college coaching days? Your parents. I guess what matters to college coaches that maybe parents don't understand. They kind of miss the point. So what are points that college coaches are looking for that would help kids develop or maybe get recruited, etc.?
Well, absolutely. One thing they don't look at is stats. That's the biggest thing. Parents think the kid has to have stats. The other thing is, especially nowadays, if you're good enough, they're going to find you. It's not like you have to go to here and here to be found. And you're looking for kids that you think will, especially at college, when you're talking about kids that were stars in high school, do they have the mentality to be patient when they get there, or how are they going to handle when they're probably not going to play right away? Mm-hmm. And when we were at Trine, we had, you get some kids that had all the scored 25 a game, and when they come, they really weren't willing to accept their roles as freshmen, and they kind of got out of the program. The ones that stayed usually end up playing. If you stay, and we'll find a role for you, because we wouldn't have had you here in the first place if you weren't capable. Yeah. And then we would talk to their coaches and find out what their attitude, try to get a feel for some of the parents, because that made a difference on borderline. I remember sitting in the office listening to some parents, and I don't know if we want to go there or not, and that does make a difference.
Sure it does. You've got one now still playing in professional baseball. Tell us about his journey right now. What's going on with Jaron?
Well, he's in Florida right now. He just called last week. He pulled a hamstring, so he's out for 2 weeks. So that's where he's at. Then they'll start, when he gets healthy, they'll start playing spring training games, and I think he's probably going to start the season at Corpus Christi again, at Double A. Mm-hmm. He played in the Arizona Fall League last year, so he would have more at-bats and everything, because he only played half a year last year because he had a torn labrum. Mm-hmm. So that's where he's at right now, and he's at the point now he's got to show some improvement, or they'll send him home.
Yeah, it's a tough business.
That's
it
sure. Is. It's, every year they bring kids in, and it's tough. But hey,
it's pretty simple at that level. If those that succeed handle failure,
right? Oh,
and
yeah,
that's 100% what it's about.
And see, that's what surprised me about Jaron, because growing up, he wasn't really good at that. He didn't roll with the punches, and that's why, of all my kids, he shocks me how much he's matured, and he's had to learn to deal with that, not only physically but mentally. Because before that, and you've coached him, he could be a pain in the butt, stubborn and pouty and all that stuff. Yeah, and like I said, as a parent, that's the only time I ever confronted him, is when he'd get in one of those pout modes.
Yeah. Well, I'll never forget times where they're up the gym, and oftentimes maybe they'd be the only ones in there, Bryce and Jaron, and then even Cass will be around. And I'll tell you what, the three of them got into it more times than not, and it was kind of funny, actually.
It got to be the point I couldn't bring Cassidy and Jaron to the gym at the same time, because they'd fight.
So much fun.
Kid. Well, hey, we appreciate your time, kid. You've been awesome. And again, I think you hit the bill right on a VIP. You hit all the marks that we're looking for, and you've certainly done a great job, and we certainly appreciate your friendship.
Well, thanks a lot, guys.
All right.
Keep up the great work, and I want you to know how much I respected you guys as not only basketball coaches, but more importantly, as really good people.
Yeah,
well,
appreciate
thank you.
that.
Yep.
Time now to thank our sponsors for Season 2 of Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat. Our title sponsor this season, the Terry Hendricks Auto Group. Terry Hendricks sells and services new and used vehicles with a reputation for professional service. Visit or contact both Terry Hendricks Ford and Terry Hendricks Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram in Archbold. D&G Welding of Archbold. Call 419-445-5751 and ask about their mobile service. Rely on D&G Welding for all your welding needs. American Freedom Energy, located just off US 24 on Highway 109 by Liberty Center. If you're traveling in the area, stop in for a fuel fill-up of high-quality Marathon gasoline. And while you're there, pop into Grandma's General Store. You'll find locally produced grocery items from local Henry, Fulton, Defiance, and Williams County producers. Ward's Power Sports and Carts in South Archbold, your hometown experts for top-quality golf carts and UTVs. Stop by or go to www.wardscarts.com and see why they're the area's trusted choice. S&W Mills of Archbold, proud supporters of the Archbold Blue Streaks and all our area students and athletes. Call S&W Mills of Archbold for all of your animal bedding needs at 419-445-5206. Viking Trucking in Ridgeville Corners. They provide reliable transportation for your construction materials like stone, dirt, asphalt, rough material. They handle all types of heavy materials for your construction needs. Call 419-267-3319. Viking Trucking, where quality doesn't cost, it performs. Thiel Construction in Blakesley. They excel in custom residential and commercial construction services. They offer custom home building, remodeling, commercial build-outs, and project management. Trust Thiel Construction for your next construction project. Also, while you're in Blakesley, visit the Thiel Supply Center. From power tools to plumbing supplies, they offer everything needed to tackle any job. The Sherwood State Bank, with branches in Sherwood, Defiance, Archbold, and Fayette, offering banking and financial services for consumers, business, agriculture, and investments. Call the main branch at 419-899-2111 or visit one of the local 4 branches nearest you. And Innovatech Solutions of Archbold, your trusted technology partner. Call 419-445-8088 to learn more about their many services or visit them online at innovatechsolutions.net. That's Innovatech with a K, solutions.net. Thanks to all our sponsors for Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat Season 2, and we do sincerely hope that you, our listeners, will patronize these fine businesses. And if you enjoy Hoop Chat, thank our sponsors for supporting the program. All right, time for the View from the Bench segment, and we're going to keep Kid in house here for the View from the Bench segment. That way we have 3 different views from the bench represented. We don't get to have that for every episode, and so for this episode, we get to have Kid join us. Here's the first question that I want to have you guys talk about. What were some of your expectations of players' parents? So you kind of mentioned you were talking about being a parent with kids playing for other coaches and your confidence in those other coaches. But what were some of your expectations as a coach of players' parents? What were some of the ways that you expected the parents to support their players, and what were some of the ways you expected them to not support their players?
Well, the first thing, you always have your parent meeting, and that's where you set your ground rules. And one of the ground rules that I always like to share was basically we're in the same boat here. We all need to be pulling the same rope in the same direction, And so that I tried to give that point across to the parents in terms of we need everybody in the boat rowing the same way, believing the same thing. We're all here for the benefit of A, the program, and B, your kids. You're not here to hurt anybody. We want to just do the positive stuff for everybody. So that was the big sell that I tried to implement as we started the season.
Yeah, I always said very similar. I said, hey, you all here for your kid. You want what's best for your kid. You know what? I want what's best for your kid too, but I want what's best for everybody else's kid in this room. And together, we will be successful. We all got to, like Dave just said, we all got to make sure that we are wanting to everybody have success, not just your kid.
I think the biggest thing is that the parent is worried about his kid first. Sure. You as the coach are worried about the team first, then the individual. And I think what you try to do is have the parents and the coaches understand we're looking at 2 different, try to understand the other point of view. And then I found, I didn't have kids until late. I coached a long time without kids. I changed my attitude. Sure. Once I had my own kids, I got to be a little bit more understanding about the parent aspect, where maybe when I was younger, parents didn't know what, I don't want to talk to you.
I often use an example of, and this was a study done that said that the study basically said, hey, do you want your kid to be on a state championship team, but yet average 10, 12, maybe only get limited minutes or whatever? Or do you want to have him be on an average team, a 10-10 team, et cetera, and be the leading scorer? And I said, personally, I want the first one. I want those guys on my team. I want people to understand their roles, and that's where as parents, if you can buy into that whole thing, that's a positive.
Right.
For sure.
Next question from the View from the Bench. As a head coach, what was one of your non-negotiables, something that was an absolute for your teams that you coached?
Well, with me, I was such a big one on, I just wanted the kids to play so hard and compete hard. In fact, to the point where I'd overlook some mental mistakes on the floor, some physical mistakes, but I had very short fuse for what I thought was lack of effort. So we just got to play as hard as you can, as long as you can. That was non-negotiable.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sounds it up too. We had 2 major things: play hard and have fun. But non-negotiables, we threw some in sometimes. Sometimes if we were shooting the ball just terrible from 3-point land, as a team percentage-wise, I would say, okay, we're not shooting threes. We're not going to shoot a 3 unless you get the ball coming out from the inside out. Any other three, we're not shooting. And if you shoot one that you get from the side, from a side pass, and even if it goes in, you're coming out. We're not shooting that right now until we get better.
We always like to try to teach the idea of, hey, when you come out to practice, when you step over that line, whatever's going on this day, we need to forget that, and because this is going to be the next hour and a half, 2 hours is going to be the most enjoyable time of the day, and we want to make it that way. All right, so that was always a focus point. Let's really get after it here in terms of the next hour and a half, and so just focus on what we got to do to get better.
Okay, that sound means it's time for our final buzzer segment. What are some of the games upcoming in tournament that you guys are looking forward to, keeping your eye on?
Well, let's start on the guys' side. Tonight, Napoleon goes to Van Wert, Wauseon will go to Elida, and Bryan will go to Lima Bath. In Division 7 tonight, Fayette at Montpelier, Edgerton at Stryker, Antwerp at Miller City, Holgate goes to Delphus Jefferson, play on the stage, North Central at Eden, and then Hilltop at Pettisville.
Yeah, those are all Thursday games. On Friday, then, Division 3, Defiance goes to Southview. Division 5, Swanton Delta winner, which plays Wednesday, will go to Paulding Friday. Northwood will go to Liberty Center. And Coldwater will come to Archbold for sectional final play. Also on Friday, Division 6, Elmwood will go to Patrick Henry. Evergreen at Gibsonburg. That's an interesting Division 6 game, 4 seed versus a 2 seed. Hicksville at Lincoln View. Tenora at Wayne Trace, and then Fairview at Ayersville.
Kid, do you like the home court first round mentality, or would you rather go back to the old way of going on a neutral site?
I would rather go back, but I'm old school. I'll be honest, I don't like the 7 divisions. Can't understand how the seeding goes and everything. And it was so much simpler before for old guys like me.
Well, you've joined the club.
Yeah, we're all in that group. And we have some girls basketball. The teams have advanced to the district finals. Congrats to the Bryan Lady Bears. Big win last night against Lima Bath. They now travel to Fostoria on Saturday afternoon to play a really quality Bellevue squad at 3 p.m. And then the Delta Lady Panthers last night took on the Streaks and got the Streaks last night at Defiance, but now they travel to Lakota to play a really good Willard squad at 3 p.m.
All right, once again, we invite you to drop us a line this week. Ask questions about life, coaching, basketball, even funny situations you'd like to hear them talk about. Find Hoop Chat on X. Leave us a message at NW_OH_Hoop Chat, or email your questions to NWOhioHoopChat. It's all one word, NWOhioHoopChat@gmail.com. Thanks to our listeners for joining us for this week's edition of Northwest Ohio Hoop Chat. Thanks also once again to our title sponsor, the Terry Hendricks Auto Group. This has been a production of WMTR Sports, and for Doug and Dave Krause, I'm producer Ryan Throne.
See you courtside.